If we can't ask from society's lottery winners to just make that modest investment, then really this conversation is for show.
The president suggesting that the super successful in this country are super lucky, like lotto winners. Now, where have we heard that before?
If you got a business, that you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen.
I did not run for office to be helping out a bunch of fat cat bankers on Wall Street.
It must be because I worked harder than everybody else. Let me tell you something. There are a whole bunch of hard-working people out there.
Well, now some here are saying you want to lift up all Americans and stop bashing people who are living the American dream and start celebrating those people instead. Are they right or wrong? Hi, everybody. I'm David Asman. Welcome to Forbes on Fox. Let's go in focus with Mr. Steve Forbes, Rich Carlgard, Elizabeth McDonald, Carrie Sheffield, John Tamney, and Bruce Japsen. Rich, what do you make of these lotto comments of the president?
You know, if he had said everything that he said but left out the word lottery, it would have sounded like Pope Francis. I mean, it would have been a good liberal pitch for successful people to pitch in. But the use of the word lottery is really revealing of his mindset that success in this country, and maybe even the success of the United States, is some artifact of luck. I'll tell you, it's one of the most poisonous things I've ever heard a president of the United States say.
And what makes this country great, Bruce, is people aspiring to greatness, people achieving greatness. That wasn't a lottery win. That was their aspirations.
No, I would agree with part of that, but I would say that we need him to elaborate a little bit. I think who he was probably talking about is hedge fund managers who pay an outrageously low tax rate. But when you think about in the broader context of his speech on the whole poverty issue, if you think about it, a lottery prize after taxes is $600,000. If you're born into a situation where you have no hope and you're facing college education and bills that are going to amount to $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, you almost need a lottery for some of these people in poverty to get out of their cycle.
Well, but Carrie, actually, I think Bruce hits on a good question, Carrie, and I'll throw it to you. What turns poor people into wealthy people? Is it the government, or is it something else? Is it the family? Is it support? Because there are a lot of poor people who come to these shores, immigrants in particular, who have nothing but become millionaires or billionaires.
You're right. Our top companies are started by immigrants or the children of immigrants. That's what studies show, 40%. That means if you're rich, your children are probably not going to be as rich as you are. It is from the bootstrapping immigrants, bootstrapping poor. It is the family, it is community, it is values, it is hard work, and I am proof of that. My parents were on welfare. I've been on Medicaid. I've been to these inner city schools. It is values. All the social science backs this up, whether it's Charles Murray, Robert Putnam. That is what the data shows. And no amount of liberal, fuzzy, warm thoughts or feelings are going to account for real change.
Steve, I think she's right. What is missing from the president's comment is that aspiration to greatness. That's what makes this country great. We should be celebrating that, right?
We should indeed. As Abraham Lincoln put it, the opportunity to improve our lot in life is the essence of the energy of this country, why people want to come to it. What the president also doesn't seem to get is the connection between a higher standard of living and entrepreneurs and others making investments to make the products and services that enable us all to have a richer and better standard of living. He says we should invest a little more. Well, Mr. President, get a better tax code, monetary policy, health care policy, and you would see that investment that enable people to move up the ladder of success.
And John, doesn't wealth creation, the process by which poor people aspire to greatness and become wealthy, doesn't that create wealth for everybody?
Well, of course it does. The president's very confused. What he misunderstands is that people get rich in this country by virtue of taking that which only the rich can enjoy and making it broadly available to everyone. Think the automobile, think the computer, think the cell phone, think air conditioning. What he doesn't understand is that if we got rid of society's achievers, life for those not rich would be marked by unrelenting cruelty.
And then, you know, Emac, the president said something else in the same context. He criticized, he chastised the rich for sending their kids to private school. Now, that takes a lot of gall, does it not?
And going to private clubs when he himself sends his own children to private schools and joins golfing at private clubs.
And he himself was educated in private schools.
That's right. That's a good point. Listen, when you look at all the president's speeches and speeches from the Democrats to the left, what they will not talk about, and here's the key, how to end the cycle of dependence on government. We absolutely want to help the poor. I personally like food stamps. I want food stamps. But they won't talk about waste, fraud, and abuse in that. But I am for food stamps. But how do you end the cycle of dependence on government? What this president has done is build the tax and regulatory and spending skunkworks in the government to historic proportions, and it's making blue chip companies flee cities and states that are also slamming them as well.
Rich, you need a safety net, and some of that has to be government, but we should emphasize a lot of these rich people spend a lot of their money, a lot of their personal wealth helping other people. You think of the hedge funders themselves. On the cover of Forbes, we had Bill Ackman. He's a hedge fund guy, spends millions of dollars on hospitals and things like that.
Yeah, I think it's been shown in numerous studies that Republicans tend to give more to charities than Democrats do. And all you have to do is look at the tax returns and charitable giving of some of the recent Democratic lions like Al Gore, who give practically nothing.
That's true.
But this word lottery is one of the most nihilistic things I've ever heard. I mean, it just throws the whole American experiment out the window and attributes it to a matter of luck.
And Kerry, what it does is it squeezes out the essence of the American spirit. I mean, it's the American spirit that turns people into super motivated individuals that create wealth.
Right. What he's doing is European. He wants to rip out the creators and the wealth and give it to people who are not working. He has rolled back working provisions for those who are on food stamps. I agree with Emac. We need a safety net, but we need to put in work requirements, and this president does not want work requirements. Right. That is the strongest variable for lifting someone out of poverty, in addition to making sure we have a strong family.
Doesn't it bother you a little bit that the president seems to have missed the essence of what makes this country great?
Well, I think what bothers me is that we have gone nowhere with this whole poverty discussion, dating back to when Republicans like Jack Kemp were talking about it, and John Edwards when he ran for president and so forth, and things are not getting better. So I think, unfortunately, the lottery word has upset some people, but I think the president is saying, hey, come on, let's get some bipartisan agreement here and move something forward. Yeah. Move the ball down the field.
You want bipartisan agreement?
The lottery comment comes in the context of a lot of other comments that he's made. I mean, you put them all in context, and it shows that he doesn't seem to understand how this country was built.
No, he's hostile to free markets, hostile to entrepreneurship, hostile to he thinks that if you succeed in business, it's because you're that Hollywood villain who exploits people, poisons people, and everything like that. He has no conception of how you get new things for people.
You know, the entrepreneur didn't start out life on third base. He or she got there fighting and working hard to build their businesses. You know, 2/3 of the jobs in this country are created by entrepreneurs and small businesses. But this president is penalizing work. He basically has, it's not a profile in courage, by the way, to flip the switch on $7 trillion in spending, which this president has done. And we need those jobs, by the way, that the entrepreneur builds and creates to pay for all the government spending this president wants to do.
That's a good point. John Tamny, go ahead. Last word.
Well, I think we've got to remember an economy is a collection of individuals. How does it hurt the individual to do that which maximizes their talents and makes them rich? What an awful world if we couldn't seek the inequality that maximizes our skills and everything. What a tragic world he wants to take us to if he got his way.
Last word from John Tamny. Coming up next, if Iran still is taunting and Arab leaders need the president to stop them from worrying, maybe it's time we stop talking and start walking.